Welcome everyone. We're here in KBEV Studio 6. This is the real estate club meeting. We have two of the biggest names to come to Beverly Hills High School since Ronald Reagan came and spoke. So we have James Harris and Josh Flagg here to speak, and we're going to ask them a couple questions about real estate and about their life, and to have them give us some advice to all the students here. So we'd like to have a round of applause for James and Josh for coming. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
So the first question we want to start out by asking is, what is the best piece of advice you could give to high school students here at Beverly Hills High School, trying to become successful, wanted to have the best balance coming into college and coming into after professional life?
Don't get in real estate.
What a typical answer.
I'm kidding. I would say, well, there's two aspects of real estate. There's owning commercial or residential real estate, and there's brokering. What are you more interested in?
I think personally it would be owning, but as far as the club goes, it ranges from everything from brokering, from owning, from investing, from managing.
Well, you know, obviously I'm more I know more about brokering, so I would say if you're interested in becoming a broker, you should really intern with somebody that knows what they're doing. So that yeah, you're not going to get paid, it's not a job, but you start with somebody that really is reputable, knows what they're doing. You might have to get them coffee or pick up their dry cleaning or whatever, but listen in. It's like when you're at William Morris or CAA and you're in the agency, and people, all the agents that are training to be big star agents always listen in on the phone calls. It's not like in a bad way. They're trained to do that. Listen in, learn. So listen and learn from somebody who knows what they're doing.
I think you make a great point. If Josh Flagg's ever looking for anyone to pick up his dry cleaning, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. I will say for everyone sitting in this room now and anybody listening, for me, I wasn't a good listener. And once I started to listen was when I was able to learn. And I think if you take the time to listen and really think about what it is you want to do, whether it's real estate, whether it's sales, but if you figure out what your strengths are and apply those to your lifestyle and obviously your career path, the answers will come in terms of what you want to do. Brokering is a great business. There's very little liability and there's huge profit margins. Commissions are obviously a great size here in America. But it's all about relationships and people trusting you and being able to adapt your personality to each different client. So I think it's a matter of who you are as an individual rather than trying to look at somebody else and think, I want to do that. You kind of have to adapt to what you want to do and then go and figure out what's best for you.
Wow, that's some great information. We wanted to ask you also, what led you guys to come into the real estate business? You guys spoke about how there's different skills that brought you to it, or maybe what different things that happened during your life that made you say, wow, real estate I think is a business for me?
Well, you know what's ironic is if you read my book or if you read my book, it says that I was actually here at Beverly Hills High School doing my first deals in real estate. I remember vividly sitting downstairs, I think it was math, literally like I think what is right below us. And I was 18 for a certain portion of my last year in high school because I just was always the oldest in my class, probably because they held me back, but whatever. Anyway, that's a whole different story.
He should still be here.
I should still be here. I know, literally. Anyway, so I remember doing texting at the time. The teachers were like, we can't do that. Anyway, and I was texting and doing a deal on a pretty major property on Sunset in Beverly Hills. And that was really the way I got to be where I am, whatever you want to call it, is immediately when I did that deal, I called up Ruthie Ryan at the LA Times. She's passed away now, and I said, Ruthie, or Ruth as people called her, I'd say, you know, I'm just in high school, nice to meet you. I just did this deal, put it in the paper, and she loved the idea of it. And then I called the Beverly Hills Courier, and you could probably find the clip. It says BH high school student headed for success or something to that effect. But the reason, where are we going with this? I don't even remember what the point of the story.
Why you're in real estate.
The reason to be successful in real estate is you have to be good at PR. I was always really good at promoting myself. So I took the initiative to call up Ruth Ryan. I took the initiative to call the Courier. I took the initiative to call Bravo for my show. It's not like they called me and said, hey, let's go on the show. I said, hey, I'm really good at what I do. I want to be in front of the camera, and I did, and that's how I got that job. So in terms of real estate, promoting yourself is key. Any comment?
Yeah, no. He's absolutely right. Especially in real estate, you are your brand. And that's always something that I've loved because there's no ceiling to your success. You create your own success. And I was 16 years old, and I'll be very upfront and say school wasn't necessarily for me. I wanted to get out, I wanted to make money, and I always loved real estate because my mother was an interior designer. She'd buy an apartment in London, she'd renovate it, and before I knew it, she'd sold it and we were moving to the next, and so it made sense for me to transition into real estate. But my first job in real estate was at the age of 16 and a half, and I didn't really have the best resume at the time, as I was only 16. And so I took a photo of myself, and that was my resume. And I walked into companies and I said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And so I started in the mail room. I started as an assistant, and then I started showing properties, and one thing led to the other. But I always had a self-belief and passion in being able to grow my business and get to the very top. And I think for anybody that wants to be in real estate or sales or any business for that matter, if you are focused and you have that drive to succeed and be successful, you can go as high as you want and be the best that you can be and really be better than everybody else.
That's some great advice. Moving on to the points that you guys were saying, you spoke about being ambitious, you spoke about not giving up, having an idea in mind. What other characteristics do you think are very, very important for someone that's looking to become successful?
Well, you know, it's not like a book. There's not a set of rules. You either have it or you don't have it. You're either meant to be a broker or you're not meant to be a broker. Some people, I'm not a scientist. I have no interest in chemistry, and I would never be a person that, even if I had interest in it, I couldn't learn it because I can't obtain that kind of information. It doesn't make sense to me. So in real estate, you have to have that personality. Like, I am very good at walking in a room and immediately speaking to somebody and in 5 seconds finding out where their parents live. Like I asked you.
Okay? It's always the parents.
It's
and
always
the grandparents.
Well, he's too young to buy a house. So I find out in 5 seconds where somebody lives, just like I did with you a second ago. So that's what a good agent can do, and not be pushy, not be like, hey, do you want to sell your house, but just come in and learn and quickly and then start talking, and then, oh, you know this person, you know that person, oh, they want to sell their house, I'll call them. It's just, you have to be good at it or you're not.
Talking the talk and walking the walk.
That's right.
I think you got to be creative. You got to think outside the box. I came to Los Angeles with nothing, literally nothing, and I didn't have a single number in my phone of anybody to really call. But what I did do was I looked at agents like Josh and a number of other agents, and I focused on who I wanted to be like, who I wanted to get to in terms of that level. And I would always look at the competition and then say to myself, right, how can I set myself apart from them, do what they're doing, and then try and do it in my own way even better. And I think in business, you have to be creative, you have to think outside of the box. And I think, especially in real estate, where everything seems so cookie cutter, because you're not reinventing the wheel, you're putting buyers and sellers together, you have to identify what's your unique selling point. So for us, it was not having fear, door knocking on houses, setting open houses, getting relationships strong with other brokers. But I think you have to identify what you are, who you want to be, and then boom, race to the top in a good, slow, timely manner.
As far as, you guys obviously been in the market for a long time, and what kind of trends have you seen since 2008, and what do you think the market's going to go soon?
Well, people always ask me, is the market going to crash? Is the market going to crash? And I always say, no, I don't think the market's going to crash. But will there be a correction? Of course. Things go like this. They go upwards over time, but it can't go too fast. It can't just go like this, or people won't be able to afford to buy a house. So I'll comment on two things. The first thing is that though I think the market is softening and it is correcting itself.
Which is good.
Which is good. It makes there's opportunity for buyers out there right now. But a lot of times people will say to me, well, maybe I shouldn't buy right now. I'll wait till next year when it's lower. Or, you know, I'll wait when the market crashes. And I always say to them, if you find the house of your dreams, buy the house, because guess what? In 30 years from now when you sell it, it's going to be worth triple what you paid for it regardless. So what's the difference? Like, don't miss out on something just because you think you can get maybe a better deal in the future. It's ridiculous.
I agree with that. And I think markets are cyclical, right? If you look at the 2008 recession, which was the worst since forever.
Since the crash of 29.
Exactly. I think if you look at what's happened up to 2008, the market went up and up and up, and then boom, it fell right off. Whereas the market for the last 6-7 years, at least in Los Angeles, it's steadily been inclining, and now it's just leveling off. And I think if you look at Los Angeles as a real estate market, we're still cheap price per square foot in dollars compared to other major cities around the world. You look at London, you look at Hong Kong, you look at other states like New York, Miami, price per square foot, we're still cheap. But what's happening is people have been building a lot of big homes in LA, as you've probably all seen, and now there's a bigger supply. And so it's about supply and demand. And so the market's slightly transitioning from a seller's market to a buyer's market, but you just shift with the market. And I think as long as you're real with people and you give them facts, there's always a deal to be done.
Perfect. For all the buyers listening, what advice would you say for wanting to buy a home of value that would have long-standing value for the future?
Call me.
Yeah, right. Don't call me, call him. But it's 3 words: location, location, location. That's all it's about. You know, a couple of years ago, a house sold in Truesdale for $70 million plus on a postage stamp sized lot, just a tiny lot with a great view, brand new contemporary house. At the same time, I had sold, I think it was the same month, I had sold a property for $40 million in Beverly Hills, which was on 3 acres. And I said to myself at the time, what's going to be worth more in 30 years from now? Prime 3 acres in Beverly Hills, or a very nice modern house now, but a really dated house in 30 years on a tiny little lot? And so I always say to people, buy in the best location, because Beverly Hills is the best location, obviously, and try and buy something that is not the creation of somebody else. Create value of your own. Buy a piece of land, build the house, and then sell it for money and make a profit. Because when you're buying something that is someone else's work, you're paying for a premium. Somebody paid $70 million for that property because somebody bought it for somebody bought it for 10, put 10 in it, they were in it for 20, and they made $50 million. Why don't you be the person to make $50 million?
I agree, and I think location is obviously everything. You can't create more land, so always buy as much land as you can. But I think for anybody buying real estate right now, you need to do your homework. You know, don't just see a house, fall in love with it, write an offer. Do your homework. How much is owed on the property? How long's the current owner held this property for? Do they have any debt? What's attractive to them? Do they want to move out quick? Would they like to lease it back? If you can do your homework and place yourself and position yourself correctly, it will give you an advantage of how to buy that property for the least amount of money. So I think it's really doing your due diligence before you just dive right in.
Mm-hmm. So for all the students that are listening that we all see as hardworking, successful people in the real estate industry, but yet we see that you guys seem to have a good balance in your life with your family and with your spouses.
Don't know if my wife would agree with you, but thank you.
I don't know if she would either.
So what advice could you give the students listening for just having moderation, having a good balance between the two?
You know, I don't really know how to answer that, because
don't get into real estate.
I mean, we're always working, but you have to have fun too. Like, a lot of people will look at my Instagram or my blog or whatever. But by the way, plug here, youtube.com/JoshFlagg. You have to watch it. Just take a little advantage.
It is pretty good.
Anyway, people will be always like, how do you sell real estate? You're always traveling, blah, blah, blah. You got to enjoy your life. And I can do a deal in any part of the world. Today, technology is, you can do anything. I don't have to be in LA every single minute. What's the point of making money if you can't enjoy it?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Healthy balance, though, is hands down one of the hardest things to do when you're in a profession that requires your attention basically 24 hours a day. You do have to have fun whilst you do it. But I do think, and obviously we're talking to students, not parents, but from a parent perspective, you have to be able to split your time between family and business. And that means turning off the phone at night, or just being present, being focused, and being of service to your family. But like Flagg said, and he's absolutely right, and I don't know if he feels the same, but this to me isn't like work. We go out, we have fun, we do deals, we look at amazing products, we look at working on some of the most important houses, certainly in LA, if not the world, we try and have fun whilst we do it. And I think the people that take themselves too seriously in business end up getting in their own head, and it can be a downward spiral. So have fun and try and figure out that healthy balance.
That's
I have
great.
a question for you.
Yes.
What you said? Did you say that Ronald Reagan spoke here?
Yes.
Was that when he was California governor, or was that when he was the president?
That was not when he was president, but I think it was earlier on when he was governor.
Sorry,
I don't think anyone else has spoken between him and us, because you said we
I
were
was
the
going to
most
say you said they're most important. I said you guys are really lacking then.
no, since. But that was a big deal. I actually saw it on the KBEV channel recently. So
You've had no one else in the interim?
No. We've had a lot of amazing speakers come in, but I mean, Ronald Reagan is honestly a big name to have. So are you guys.
Hang on, let's take our hat off to this young man who's 18, who came up to us on the street in Beverly Hills.
That is true. He
And
actually,
said,
so that's why you'll
that's
be
a
good
big
in real
move.
estate, because you actually had the goal to come up to me in a restaurant. That was you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You look like
and he's not very nice.
I'm not very nice generally. I am very nice, but I'm very
He's lovely.
abrupt usually. And you did come up, and I was very impressed.
Thank you.
I
I really
think that
appreciate
takes
So
a
that's
lot.
why you'll be good at whatever you do.
I agree
Thank you.
with
I
Josh.
appreciate that. Yeah, that's really nice of you guys to say. So we wanted to ask you. Many kids actually told me they wanted to ask this question because we start seeing the use of technology affecting a lot of industries. How do you guys see technology affecting the real estate market and the real estate industry as a whole?
Well, okay, there's two parts. If you're saying, for brokers, I'll say technology is helping and changing because it's free advertising. Think about it. You have Instagram, you have social media. When I've taken out an ad in the LA Times every weekend, it's minimum $2,000, right? So I can put, and I still do that, but I'm saying I can, in addition to that, put stuff on my Instagram, on my blog, on my social media, on everything like that, and promote the properties, which is great for them, and promote myself. That's one part of the technology thing. The second part is if you're inferring or asking me, how do I think the internet might change selling homes? That part, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, so no, I do not think that real estate agents will be eliminated in the future, and sites like Zillow will just do the brokerage work for you. There is an aspect to salesmanship that a computer can never do for you, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I do not think that one day you'll be able to go online and say, oh, I like this house, click, make a reservation to see it, go there, and somebody lets you in, and then the brokers are out of the equation because someone has to sell the product.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is the biggest gift in our industry when you talk about social media, because you can directly target your specific market. I do not think that Zillow, or I think it's Purple Bricks, or any of these other companies stand really much of a chance in dominating certainly our industry. It's a consumer industry. Clients want to see with us, they want to sit with us, they want that one-on-one time. You also need someone to negotiate on your behalf.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just going through a computer software and you're trying to buy a $10 million home and you want to try and get it for $8 million, you're not going to press click and get it for $8 million. There's a process that has to be set into place. And I think that we are too valuable in terms of what we provide to our clients, in terms of information, data, which is everything, that those companies, I don't personally see them being able to take over. I really don't.
Okay. We wanted to ask you a question based off of how we see real estate. We see there's a lot of commercial brokers and a lot of residential brokers. So we wanted to ask you which one you think is better for you guys, and why you came into residential rather than commercial.
Well, you know, I don't know anything about commercial. I know James loves commercial, but we're primarily residential brokers. I like people, and I like architecture, and I like design, I like houses. None of those elements, except for people, have anything to do with commercial real estate. It's numbers. It's this cap rate, boom, 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 1 + 1 is 2. In residential, it's all emotional, and it's more, in my opinion, of a sales job where you can actually really sell the product because it's all emotional. And so that's why I'm really more interested in that.
That's absolutely spot on. I mean, I love commercial because you can get very creative with the deal. Residential, like Flagg said, is 100% emotional. You're dealing with husbands, wives, divorces, deaths. this style, that architecture, whereas commercial is bricks and mortar, right? You're looking at square footages, you're looking at returns, you're looking at tenants, you're looking at cap rates, you're looking at exit values. So I think if you're thinking about which one to potentially move into, again, you have to identify yourself as a person. You might be more of a numbers person, in which case commercial's probably the right way to go. But if you're more into architecture and emotion and dealing with beautiful properties and putting people together, you're more likely for residential. I happen to love both, and I feel like if you go out with the right clients, you can create value in both. But that comes down to you as a person in terms of what you want to do.
Wow. Round of applause for James and Josh.
Thank you.
We're going to open it up to a couple questions from the audience.
Fantastic.
A lot of people are really eager to ask some questions. So we're going to have one of my good friends, Nathan Rashani, come up here, and he's going to ask a question.
Nathan,
Hi.
how are you?
Thank you.
Come take a seat.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you dressed for the occasion.
Yes.
Sadly, it was,
I'm just playing with you.
it was a little.
So did you, Flagg.
I know.
Well said, Hillary.
So, my question is, are you more into leasing and renting properties for you, residential and obviously for commercial? I'm assuming you lease, or do you tend to sell more of your properties?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that the commissions are a lot higher on selling than leasing.
In residential, but not commercial.
Right, commercial you can make a fortune, which I've just learned. It's amazing how much you can make on a lease. But no, I do both, but my focus is obviously sales, and it's more interesting to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. In residential, selling obviously is where you make the bulk of your fees. We will always do a lease, because a lease to me is what I call a loss leader. If you turn around and say to me, hey, we want to lease our home, it's $20,000 a month, will you represent me? I'm going to say yes, I'm going to put a tenant in there for $20,000, and guess what? A year down the line, you may say, hey, now we're ready to sell, and it's a $20 million house. Right. So you're almost doing it for the relationship, not necessarily the fee. But in commercial real estate, you take $12 per square foot retail unit and it's 25,000 square feet. You do the math and the lease is 10, 20 years. You're getting paid over the term of the lease. You can make millions of dollars. Right. So we'll take whatever we can get.
Wow. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Great question.
At least I will.
Yeah.
Our next question is going to be from Will. Will Lana is a great friend of mine, and he's going to come up. He's also, him and Nate are both part of the real estate club. So he's going to come up and ask a question.
What's up, Will?
So I'm dressed for the occasion as well. I'm Will. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
too. Hi. So I kind of want to ask a question about square footage. So I wanted to ask, do you think that the price per square footage in Los Angeles specifically could be misleading? Whether in other places like in New York or London, like you said.
When you say misleading, like, what do you mean by that?
Whether it's inflated or deflated.
I think people have the opinion or somehow believe that everything sells for $2,000 a foot or more, and everyone's always like, well, I'm going to build a house, it's going to be 4,000 square feet at times 2,000 a foot, it's going to sell for $8 million, blah, blah. No, it doesn't always work that way. There are a lot of sales that occur over $2,000 a foot, and that's a great number to use. But there's ingredients to it. It's when you say like, okay, I have a view property. I'm going to get $2,500 a foot because the one up the street sold for that price.
That's
okay,
right.
Well, you will get $2,500 a view if you have that perfect view. But if you're not facing the city light view and you're facing, let's say, the canyon, which people still think is a view, you're not going to get $2,500 a foot. Right. And that's when you really need a broker who knows what they're doing to help advise you, because a view is not just a view. It depends what you're looking at. So do I think that it's inflated in the minds of people? Yeah, everyone thinks LA you're getting $2,000+ a foot, whereas you're not getting probably a lot less than that. You're probably getting a lot less than that.
That is a perfect answer, and I will add to that and say price per square foot and sale prices are subjective, because a house is worth what somebody is willing to pay for it, right? And so, but what you said is such a great point. Josh mentioned earlier a home that sold for $70 million in Truesdale.
What a joke.
And that's, well, whatever. That's what it was worth to that buyer, right? And who knows what it's worth to the next buyer, but what that created
Not what he paid for it.
Developers going out and building houses and expecting that they can get the same price for that house. Instead of looking at as maybe that was a one-off sale. right? And so you can't just take a house that has a panoramic view that's head on with 280-degree views and then price a house that is on a smaller lot with an inferior view, with inferior privacy, and say, well, I want to get the same price per square foot. So from that perspective, it is inflated. However, and you said compared to New York and Miami and other countries around the world, we are still cheap on a price per square foot basis. You go to Hong Kong, you can't get a shoebox apartment that's 800 square feet for less than $10,000 per square foot. Wow. Or come to LA for $2,000 and get land, views, sun, and an incredible lifestyle.
When you could live here.
Exactly. Good question.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask one last question before we close up. Talking about locations in Los Angeles, which location do you guys think is going to be the most up and coming, and the next 20 years will be?
You're sitting in it. I mean, obviously.
He doesn't leave Beverly Hills.
You know, I grew up in the Bird Streets area, which is not Beverly Hills, but we owned property in Beverly Hills. We owned a big commercial building on Beverly Drive. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that the property on Beverly Drive has exponentially increased in value than our house. Beverly Hills zip code 90210, I'm not saying it should be, but it is just what it is the most famous zip code in the world. And it is the one that is always appreciated the most. I mean, people know it from television shows, from the palm trees that's seen going down Rodeo. It's just Beverly Hills, whether it should be or not, will always be the area that increases in price the most.
Yes. I'm not sure it's the most
I'm lucky that you're asking me the questions first.
No. He's right. I mean, you go anywhere in the world and say Beverly Hills, people know the show, Beverly Hills 90210. But most up-and-coming area where there's value, and Flagg's probably never been there in his life, is, I think, down by the Coliseum.
Oh, you're nuts.
The football stadium, Echo Park, areas like that where you have great walkability, hundreds of millions of dollars being invested into those areas, and there's still value. And he's looking at me like
we'll come back here in 10 years. Let's see what's more
there.
valuable, the Echo Park property
would I buy in Beverly Hills or Echo Park? Let's not
let's come
kid
back
ourselves.
here in 10 years from now.
But if you're talking about value, I think you have to go to areas outside that are still up and coming.
Sure, I agree with that.
Oh, thank God for that.
It was just being nice.
Is there anything you'd want to leave the students with before we close up?
You know, I was just thinking as I was sitting here, I was thinking to myself, you know, I got kicked out of private school. I came here for my senior year. I didn't go to college. My parents were petrified. They didn't think I would be able to graduate. And not because I was stupid, because I had zero interest in anything but real estate. And the point, I'm not trying to say, oh, don't go to college and drop out of Beverly High. The point I'm trying to make here is that if you focus on what you like and what you enjoy, and you're good at it, everyone's good at something. You're a chemist, you're good at chemistry. You're a surgeon, you're good at surgery. Because you go to medical school for 8 years, obviously you're going to be damn good at doing that. I always knew that my job was going to have something to do with real estate or be some kind of an agent. When I was a kid, Fred Savage, who was a friend of my sister's, said to me, you're going to be a great agent one day. And so for years I wanted to be an entertainment agent. And then I thought to myself, well, I'm not really interested I'm not reading People magazine, Variety every day. This doesn't really interest me. But I'm looking at house section every day in the LA Times. I'm looking at houses. So why not be an agent and be doing it for real estate? I guess, you know, it's interesting sitting here right now. I haven't been to the school in since 2004. And I was thinking in 2004, well, what if I'm not successful? My parents were petrified too, because I could barely stay in school because I just didn't care. And here I am today now speaking here.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Sad to say the same story as him. But I will say this. How many people in your real estate club?
Over 100 people.
Just the fact that you're all sitting in here today and anybody that's listening, to me, is such a huge step because it means that you're willing to listen and learn, which at 18, I definitely can't tell you what I was doing at 18. So I think the fact that you're here, you're listening, you're writing notes, and you want to learn is such a huge step in the right direction, because I'm telling you now, if you have a goal or a dream or a career and something you want to be successful at, stick with it, learn it, become a master of your craft, and then go out and don't let anybody get in your way. And
I'll add one thing. Also, be very thankful for what you have. you already have an advantage sitting in this room. Everybody in this audience
agree.
goes to Beverly Hills High School. You are in a city that provides you one step above than, and think about people that come from, that don't, are not in Beverly Hills already. You already have one step up because there's so many connections and so many, and it's just, be very grateful for what you have here. Everyone sitting here already has an advantage.
Wow, thank you. We want to thank Josh and Josh and James for coming. I want to get a round of applause. I would like to thank everyone at the Real Estate Club. We have everyone, Nathan, Daniel, Josh, Sophia, Aaron, everyone with the Real Estate Club team. We also all really worked hard. Everyone here at KBEV 6, they're doing a great job. Yearbook, highlights, Beverly Hills Courier. You guys are all great people, all doing great things. So today was a great day. We got on a lot of really good information, and it was an absolute pleasure having you guys.
Likewise.
So another round of applause for them. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.